Hey, RetconRaider here, and welcome back to Skald against the Black Priory. As today, now that we've gotten the old crew back together, it's time to make our next move. And I will say, we are getting perilously close to the point where I stopped playing back in the pre-launch build. Not quite there just yet, but I believe I did stop at the Smuggler Caves. Which I believe are those right there. Though it has been a while, my memory is a mite bit fuzzy. Oh. Okay, well, something's going on. Into the shadows. The winding coastal road constricts as steep cliffs press in from the north. The dense fog reduces visibility to a mere stone's throw, and you feel an uneasiness rise in your stomach. I also noticed they defaulted us back to Farron. Then, as if in response to your concern, a bizarre, monstrous growl echoes through the cliffs ahead of you. Frozen mid-step, you scan the mists, when the unmistaken stench of rotting flesh is wafted towards you. Something large and deadly lies ahead. Roland places his hand on the hilt of his weapon as he scowls into the mist. Keep your wits about you. I fear we may have our work cut out for us. Right. What would you recommend? I say we forge ahead, but let's keep our wits about us. I'm inclined to agree with the big man, Kat adds as she looks around nervously. Freya nods in silent agreement, for she is also there. Agreed. We'll proceed with caution. You swallow hard as you ponder the dangers that may lay ahead. And a difficulty tutorial. Well, curious timing that. Well, you know, we'll use all due caution, but Farron's not the type to shy away from a fight. Not when there's justice to be had. Though, you know, as with everyone, he does have his limits. You carefully pick your way forwards when movement on the top of the cliffs catches your eyes. Robed and hooded figures emerge as they appear to be dragging something towards the edge of the cliff. More of the rabid dogs, spits Roland. To your horror, you realize what the party is dragging. A naked man and woman, bound and gagged, are struggling desperately as they are mercilessly pushed towards the edge of the cliff. No, whispers Kat, almost too loud. We have to do something. One of the cultists shouts and points towards the surf in elation. Utter terror fills the eyes of the moribund couple. You follow their gaze and turn to see, emerging from the surf, a creature of sheer horror. Larger than any sea creature you've fought so far, a hulking shape greedily waddles towards the base of the cliffs, pincers snapping and tentacles squirming greedily. Before you can react further, the cultists hurl the two naked forms from the cliffs. The pair impact the ground below with a sickening splat, and with surprising speed, the hulking beast falls upon their remains. Standing transfixed, you watch as the horror consumes the remains of the unfortunate wretches. Sickening snaps and wet pops fill the air as the creature feeds. All the while, the robed cultists stand swaying and chanting on the ledge above. Well, that is unfortunate, and whilst normally I might grumble about just hanging back and watching that happen, I'm not really sure if there was anything we could have done in this case. A pot shot with an arrow, perhaps? A swarm of gnats? Might have given us the element of surprise, but certainly wouldn't have stopped them from pushing those two to their doom. We could not save. And thus, We avenge. Make ready. And we are up against a corpse eater. Definitely a tougher customer than Chitters, but not by a tremendous amount. Not seeing any ads either, so I'm feeling pretty good about this. We'll just set up for a basic flanking run. Actually, wait, let's see here. We want to make sure Cat is behind it by round 2. Yeah, that works better. Roland moves up, engages from the side. Cat moves 3, hides, then engages the round after. So up 3 and hide. Do not enter base to base. Roland rushes. And you know what, I think if there was ever anything that justified a steel breath, this would be it. Nice. And we are at half attunement, so let's go ahead and spell burn. Just nudge those numbers back up a bit. Oh wow, really weak opening shot. Baron moves in. Nice. Okay, we've got it half down. Keep piling it on. And yeah, I think the weird miss back on Chitters with Swarm of Gnats was a fluke because we have not seen it repeat since. In fact, we even used it successfully several times during that fight against subsequent foes. It was just that opening shot that immediately flew towards the nearby corpses. So if that was an intended weakness of the spell, you'd think we'd be seeing it repeat right now. And down it goes. Nicely done, guys. But, oh, hey, hi. What's up? Sorry about your god, I guess. Well, they seem to be taking it well. How about you two? You good? They're probably fine. Let's see here. The Guarded Heart. A beautifully crafted golden ring with a heart carved into it. The wearer of this ring will find their resolve strengthened. +1 to will. A small but welcome bonus. I imagine our prize for cutting rather than running. Though I am curious what trying to worship this thing might have gotten us. The Dungeon Master in me assumes a decent short-term bonus with long-term ramifications. That does seem to generally be how these things play out. And I guess that's it. We move on. I suppose another potential drawback there is that those cultists were clearly positioned to witness what we did, but not be engaged. So, that might make future diplomacy checks against cultists slightly tougher. Before you, the unmistakable mess, squalor, and desperation of a refugee camp sprawls around a small farmstead like a festering wound. Oh, delightful. And yes, I believe this is where we pick up our 5th. Well, technically our 4th, but, we went off script with Freya. A soldier, dressed in the ragged remains of what you assume is the livery of Harren. He looks hungry, shaken, and on edge. Talk to the Chamberlain over in the barn if you want something. Just leave me alone. Duly noted. Yeah, okay, so we've got a lot of generics here. Entering the camp, you notice a small crowd nearby, arranged in an inward-looking ring. In the center stands a formidable, armored woman. She carries an unmistakable air of authority, and the insignia on her armor marks her as a cleric of the Order of the Sepulchites. Caretakers of the dead. The tattered band of refugees surrounding her are agitated and shouting over one another. But there are so few of us. Harren was home to 200, and we're but a few score left, cries a ragged man with tears in his eyes. By the golden corpses, there must be survivors, beseeches another. And who are we to send? Half of us won't live through next market day, and the other half ain't fit to hold as much as a stick, an old crone interjects, panic quivering in her voice. The crowd erupts in a cacophony of desperate appeals. The cleric raises her arms and the crowd falls silent. Her sonorous voice rings out. We may indeed be cursed, but Eldon is right. There may yet be survivors in Harren, and it's my duty to go to their aid. Or at least, to learn what fate befell them. The assembly erupts again, some blessing the cleric in tears of hope, others clinging to her robes while pleading for her to not risk her life. Through the crowd, the woman catches sight of you, and nods curtly. She turns away and begins to load up on supplies, no doubt intent on making good on her promise to the panicked refugees. And that's obviously our next story companion. Let's not keep her waiting. Also, curious that doggo there seems to have not gone insane. Also, we have another named over yonder, bottom right. The imposing cleric holds up a palm in greeting. Welcome to our new home, stranger. The people of this island know me as Drina. I serve the Golden Dead, and this camp, these people, are under my protection. What brings you here? Our ship was wrecked by some sort of monster while we were passing nearby. We're stranded here. Well, the 3 of us. I'm not sure about Freya. She might be a local. You speak of Leviathan. The fishermen first saw it about a week before the fall of Harren. I do not know what black death spawned it, but the natural order of things is fast becoming undone. Tell me, why did you come to this accursed island? Looking for an old friend. She came here ahead of us. I was hoping to find her. Here on Idra? That may prove to be a difficult task, given the tempest that's engulfed this island. The what now? She leans back, her eyes still flinty. Are you not aware of the situation here? These people say the island is surely doomed. Her eyes bore into you, gauging your reaction. Is that so? And what else do they say? Our graveyards have been overflowing as of late, with stranger killing stranger for no good reason. And worse, I think, brother and brother, husband and wife. It's become a tide of ruin. I implored the governor to intervene and investigate, but as usual he did nothing but cower in his villa and peer over his walls. The governor? A drunken buffoon, in my estimation. He did not deserve to die, however, and I don't think he made it out of Harran. Marcus's Chamberlain did, however. I suppose he's the closest we've to a leader at the moment, though he may wish it were not so. I see. Please continue. Then, a few nights ago, pandemonium erupted. Bands of armed men and women roamed the town, hacking down anyone they came across. Some folks claimed those that did not die on the spot were dragged away to suffer some unknown fate. My order and I joined what sane guardsmen remained in the chaos and tried to stem the tide, but we were driven from the city in the panicked exodus that followed. We considered retaking the town, but we had scores of wounded, so we retreated. Better to save the lives not yet lost. We set up this camp to regroup and to care for the wounded, but a shadow hangs over us. The wounded do not recover, and those still on their feet slowly lose their mind or hearts. And what, your plan is to march into Harran? Try to find answers? Yes, we need answers. Drina gestures at the refugees languishing in the camp before continuing. And it is my duty to seek them out, if they exist. I must venture to find a way back into Harran, and thence, somewhere darker, I fear. Failing that, the situation here in the camp is getting untenable. Anything that can be done to improve it will be a small victory. Right, I understand that, but you're going alone? Yes, if I must. Doomed or not, it's all dust in the end, and I intend to die in armor. But, from what I can tell, we must both tread the same terrible path. Though our reasons may differ, surely there is safety to be had in numbers. Indeed. I like your style, Drina. Consider it done. Excellent. Drina's face lights for an instant. These people, my people, I feel their pain, and we will mourn together later. For now, they deserve answers, and by the Emperor's bones, I will get them some. I can certainly appreciate that. Though, speaking of answers... Drina looks expectantly at you, one brow arched. My friend, the one we came here looking for, she might have passed through Harran. Perhaps by some chance you saw her? Drina fidgets with a heavy-looking ring on her finger while she listens to your description of Embla. She's certainly not in the camp, and I can't say I remember seeing her in Harran. But perhaps that bodes well for your quest. Oh? One of the primary tasks of my order is to care for the dead, and I can say with certainty that I didn't lay to rest anyone matching her description before the fall of Harran. Right. Any idea where I should look? Any leads would be appreciated. Beyond traveling to Harran, you may want to ask around here in camp. A few of the merchants survived. Perhaps she visited one during her stay. Okay, yeah, I'll do that. Thanks. And what of those brigands who attacked Harran? Do you have any idea who they were? The Reavers came from inside the town. I recognize some of them as sailors, fishermen and whalers. Locals, mostly from old Idran families. Perhaps they belong to one of the lodges. The lodges? Yes. There are long traditions on Idra for the fishermen and sailors to band together in fellowships known as lodges. From what I understand, they serve mainly as combines for fair distribution of the day's catch. But there are persistent rumors of them serving other purposes too. You don't say. Yeah, I've gotten a bit of a taste of that. Our order is an imperial one. The locals would be loath to discuss such things with us. But I've always suspected they practiced pre-imperial customs of ocean worship, including offerings to ensure safe travel and bountiful catches. Right, interesting. Yeah, so that would explain the ritual we saw on the way here. Only, of course, taken into an insane extreme. Alright, Drina. Sounds like we've got our work cut out for us. Let's have a look around, see how we can help these poor folk before we leave them to their own devices. Yes, of course. Before we leave, we should seek out Marcus, our leader of sorts. He's holed up in the stable trying to organize this mess of a camp. Holy ashes, no one tries harder than him. But the task at hand is monumental, and he needs help. Right. We will certainly do that. And there we go. Welcome aboard, Drina. Obviously our canonical cleric, though it would seem she doesn't have any spells just yet. Oh yeah, there we go. 25 points to distribute over 3 trees. And then gear's about what you'd expect from a standard D&D type cleric. Medium armor, clubs. Though, I will say, base skills are lower than I would have expected. Yeah, just based on the numbers we're seeing here, she really kind of scattershot her starting points. Actually, she just straight up has less points than she should. A single point in diplomacy and healing. That feels like kind of an oversight. Alright, well, hopefully we can get that bumped up a bit. I really kind of hedged my bets on her being our dedicated healer, but... well, we'll see what we can do here, I guess. Be right back. And we're back. All points allocated, but let's run through it real quick. And, obviously, right off the bat, we've got Divine Spellcasting, which we need for her to be able to cast spells, so that's our first point right there. And then beyond that, as a cleric, she has access to 3 schools of magic. Body, Mind, and Spirit. Though she only has full access to Body, which is curing and inflicting physical maladies. Obviously a pretty high priority. She is our dedicated healer. And then Mind is essentially the mental equivalent of that. And Spirit is just a general catch-all for buffs and debuffs. Plus some various divine attacks. I do want to dip into Mind at some point, just so we're not entirely reliant on potions for mental conditions. But Spirit we may skip. For now, though, we're just going to go too deep into Body. That'll give us a nice assortment of basic starter spells. Cure Poison, Lay on Hands, Cure Disease. All for obvious reasons. Then beyond that, we've got our Religious Training Tree, which immediately starts us off with Imperial Litany, a special maneuver which immediately bolsters her will for the rest of a fight. Sadly, self-target only. And then beyond that, we have General Toughness Survival Tree, and then Skill Tree. And we're going to go down both. At least a bit. We'll sink 1 point into Faithful Initiate, immediately bank that point of healing, which, weirdly, is the only point of healing she can apparently get. Thus, we'll go all in on Faithful Expert just to get that extra +1 presence, since that will also bump up her healing. Sadly, the +1 diplomacy is a bit of a waste, but the extra attunement's welcome. And then, yeah, that's pretty much it for her skills. The only other bump she has access to is a +1 lore, which is just a bonkers decision, considering she is not an intelligence-based caster. But, we'll have to make do. She's still the best we've got. And then beyond that, just some general survivability stuff. She is essentially our off tank. So we'll sink 1 point into vitality, we'll grab 1 point of toughness. That'll give her access to the basic armor stuff, which it turns out we do actually need. Apparently I was in error on body armor only reducing your athletics score, because apparently it also reduces your dodge score, which means for shield wielders like Farron and now Drina here, the encumbrance penalties from their body armor directly offsets the bonuses they're getting from their shields, which is obviously less than ideal, though it still leaves them better off than they would be without, of course. But yeah, that actually gives us all the more reason to actually invest in those trees. And then aside from that, the rest of our points go into weapons. And yeah, this is all pretty straightforward. She's essentially pigeonholed into clubs and shields. So we'll put 1 point into shield training. That's +1 dodge. And then we'll go all the way with Cleric Weapons Expert. That'll unlock Stunning Blow, a nice little crowd control attack. Though I will say, she does have access to some other potentially useful maneuvers. Most notably this one, all the way down at the bottom, which is essentially Stunning Blow, but against all foes adjacent to her. Though in her particular case, it's also worth noting that that is actually deceptively good. She is one of the few classes who can actually boost the size of her aura effects. So eventually she'd be able to theoretically use that move to stun half the battlefield. But of course that's a long ways off. That's like 18 feet points. And then beyond that, we've got spells, which we already talked about. We're just grabbing basic healing stuff. Nice to have those in our corner. And I will say, I did end up skipping lesser regen. Combat really just moves too quick for us to get much use out of that. And that's pretty much it. Welcome aboard, Drina. Not quite what I was hoping for, but she should still make a valuable addition to the party. I mean, again, like I said, even with her lackluster skills, she's still, unfortunately, the best we've got. At least where healing is concerned. And then, beyond that, just the general benefits of having an actual magical healer on hand, plus a secondary off-tank. I don't think she'll ever be all that great a combatant, but she can at least use maneuvers like Stunning Blow and Shield Rush to help keep enemies off of our softer targets. That's it. Let's get back to it. Keep poking around, see how we might be of assistance to these poor, unfortunate souls in pain, in need. The woman before you has the rugged and vital look of a life lived on the frontier. Though her clothes are rich and tailor-made, she wades through ankle-deep mud with rolled-up sleeves, hefting heavy crates of goods off a broken cart. Evening, ma'am. Need any help with that? And then the poor, lonely woman would owe you a debt of gratitude? Is that it? She snarls. The woman hefts the crate back onto the cart with a sigh. Forgive me, I'm not myself. There's not been much rest for me amid the chaos. All this jabbering about the end of all mankind is starting to wear on me. In any case, I am Maja. I ran an emporium in Harran. But you are not from Harran, are you? Maja's eyes light up with suspicion. What brings you to Idra, We came here on business, but our ship was wrecked just offshore. I'll ask no more, but it seems my merchant's intuition was right. Either way, we may yet be of help to one another. Maja hefts the last of her crates off the damaged cart and into her makeshift tent. And I do still have a modest selection of wares with me. I see. So, what's it to be? Well, I am curious about your wares, but let's start with the basics. What exactly happened in Harran? I wish I could tell you. Things have felt queer in Idra for a while. Folks in Harran started changing. People I'd known for years became mean, hard. Violence and cruelty grew so common we stopped noticing it. Just last week, my neighbor, her children... Mage's voice falters and her eyes begin to glisten with tears. A few days ago, I was out of town, taking supplies to one of the whaling vessels. On the way back at sunset, I spotted a clutch of people tearing towards us on foot from the outskirts of Harran, covered in blood and shrieking. My mare was so spooked that she bolted and broke her leg in the half-light. Poor old Aga. I had to help her pass on. When the townsfolk reached us, they regained their senses and told us such terrible stories. Like what? Stories of raving madmen rampaging across the town by night. Let's just say, not even children were spared. But they didn't kill everyone. Some were taken to who knows where. We heard screams on the wind for days afterwards. It was clear there was no going back. Yeah. Look, I came here to meet someone. A noble from the mainland. Her name is Embla. You ran a shop. Perhaps you saw her before all this happened? I can't say I remember seeing her. Doesn't mean I didn't. My emporium was always busy. Franco, the camp cook, used to own the main inn. You'll find him near the stables. If anyone saw her, it'd be him. Okay, thank you. That's very useful. Now how about we have a look at those wares? We could always use supplies. I only have what I had with me when Harran fell, but I'd be delighted to show you. They're still the same quality goods I'm known for. Well then, show. I'm already looking, no need for the hard sell. Oh wow, yeah, she does have a fair bit. Though I am seeing the rust effect on a lot of it, so... Yeah, unfortunately it is all crude goods. If that's the quality she was known for, then that's not saying much. Though, she does have some high-end arrows, those would be nice. Also, fairly pricey, it does add up. Breastplates, maybe. But not the poor grade stuff. We're not that desperate. We're actually in halfway decent shape equipment-wise, so a lot of this just isn't really going to be all that appealing. Not at this stage. Oh, are those... Yes, recipes. Those we will take. Especially since they're effectively half the cost listed. Since we can buy them, use them, and then just sell them back. Alright, I'll save the really in-depth trading for off-screen, but we will go ahead and grab those recipes for now. Might as well get those banked. Also, you know, it just kind of tickles the collector part of my gamer brain. Rations. Apple, dried meat, and nuts. Ironically, a pretty expensive recipe for the most basic food stuff. Minor healing potion requires Hound Ear, Legionnaire's Rest, and Cave Child. Grilled leeks require leeks. You know, I'd kind of like my money back on this one. and fried steak. Onions, potatoes, and beef. Very simple, very tasty. Oh man, now I want country fried steak and mashed potatoes. Okay, so that's gotta be our Magister. Oh, hello there. Another custom mercenary. Though sadly we have no real use for that one. We've already got 5. We need to keep that 6 slot empty for story characters. Alright, let's chat up the big guy. The man before you has the look of a high-ranking imperial bureaucrat. However, there is little pomp left in him now. His robes are ragged, his cheeks hollowed, his spectacles cracked. He mumbles to himself as he despondently pores over stacks of papers and maps. He looks up at you with a start. What's this then? More mouths to feed? Or by some miracle do you come laden with supplies, medicine, and men-at-arms? Drina gives the man a strict look. Marcus, we're in no position to turn allies away. Common courtesy will go a long way. The man sighs and sinks further back in his seat. Forgive me, I'm not myself. The world seems to be coming undone, and I am left holding the pieces. He wipes his balding head with a piece of cloth. Marcus Stonechild at your service. Chamberlain to the most glorious office of the Governor of Idra. He makes a sharp little bow, his words dripping with sarcasm. How may I be of assistance? Actually, Marcus, I was going to ask how I could help you. I mean, don't get me wrong, I do need something, but you seem to be in dire straits. I'd love to help. Marcus blinks, bewildered. Is that so? He gestures to his papers. With the governor missing and the camp overflowing, things are chaotic to say the least. Any assistance you can offer will surely help me avoid an early grave. Drina offers a sympathetic smile. If we can help, we will. The color drains from Marcus's face. But Drina, are you leaving as well? I need you here in camp. We've already discussed this. I cannot do this without you. I'm not a leader. I'm a glorified scribe. Who will keep their spirits up? And what am I going to do when people start dying from the outbreak? All the blood and shit and... You will find your strength, my old friend. The Golden Dead will guide you. Besides, we both know that nothing will be solved by me waiting here in camp. We must try to seize the initiative in whatever way we can. Drina puts her hand on his shoulder. Marcus lets out a deep sigh before looking up. You're right, Drina. As always. Drina motions towards you. Galleon himself may have provided for us. Marcus looks up at you, seemingly having forgotten you were in the tent. I need to know more about Haran. What happened there, and if there's a way in. It started some days ago. I was awoken in the middle of the night by the governor's guards. They told me we were under attack, and that packs of crazed brigands were already roaming the streets, spilling blood by the riverful. I never saw such chaos before. The dead lay strewn in the streets, and we had to sneak from corner to corner just to get away with our lives. By some stroke of luck, we came upon Drina and a handful of other guards, and managed to make our way to the gate with what survivors we could find. We set up this camp whilst we... Well, frankly, I don't know. All I can do is try to keep us alive till tomorrow. Which I'm happy to help with. What do you need? He lets out a sigh. Oh, where to start? This camp is a disaster. There is no medicine for the sick and wounded, while madmen and beasts bay for our blood at the gates. The haggard man wipes his brow. Anything more specific? The people are starving all around us. Already the very young and very old have begun to pass. And soon none of us will have the strength to fight, should the Reavers come for us. In other words, we need food, and we need it fast. Talk to Franco. He's serving as our cook and quartermaster, and he might know where to start. You'll find him just outside this barn. Right, yeah, I need to have words with him anyway. You also mentioned some kind of outbreak? Oh, which reminds me, gotta take care of that. Indeed. Disease is spreading in camp. Hierophant Dral has set up a makeshift infirmary in the main house, but so far he's had little luck in combating the infection. Help him and you will have helped us all. Understood. I'll certainly try. Marcus sighs deeply. If there is nothing else, my migraine needs tending to. Amongst other things. The Chamberlain gestures to the piles of papers surrounding him. Wait, I did have some other questions. Oh? What do you want to know? The, brigands, the Reavers that attacked Haran. Do you know who they were, where they came from? Drina suggested they might be locals, from the seafaring lodges. Yes, from what I hear, these men were bands of local fishermen and sailors. But why would they do something like this? Haran was their home, and for all his shortcomings, there were few imperial officials as lenient as the governor. Right, yeah, about him. Do you have any idea where... Did he survive? I didn't see him as we made our strategic retreat. I could only assume he died in the chaos. And the cruelest joke of all, that leaves me, the ranking imperial official on the island. Yeah, you're almost certainly taking the fall for this. Sorry, bud. So, do you, know any way I might get into Haran? I will have to go there eventually. I say no. Ivan the Ranger is keeping the city under watch, and he reports that the Reavers have sealed its gates. We found no other way of entering it. Though what you expect to find in there save a gruesome death is beyond me. Right. What exactly is your long-term plan here? To just sit here and wait to die? Certainly not. But with the state this camp is in, it's all we can do to keep death from our throats. If we are ever to hold out until reinforcements arrive, much less retake the town, then we must do what we can to gather our strength. For now, that means food and medicine. Fair enough. About that. I'd best get to it. Thank you for your time, Chamberlain. Marcus? Right, so that's our next step then. I'm sure he'll miraculously find a way into the city once we complete the 2-part quest he just gave us. We need food for Franco and draughts for Dral. Which is fine. I mean, we were going to do that anyway. Oh, come here. Hi. A man with leather-like skin covered in sailor's tattoos approaches you. Greetings, my lord. Name's Donovan. Dono for short. And I'm here looking for someone a lot like you. You don't say. Well, begging your pardon, but you look less covered in shit than the rest of this lot, and able to carry a blade, my lord. I serve on the vessel Weather Maiden, and I'm here on the orders of my first mate, Zara. Okay, and? Well, better you talk to her yourself. We're holed up in a large sea cave west of here while the Maiden is undergoing repairs. Zara will be waiting for you there. Here, I'll show you on your map. Dono indicates the position 66 by 91 on your map of the Outer Isles. I must ask you to not delay. I will see what I can do. Dono offers a clumsy bow before making his way out of the camp, heading northwest. So obviously that's the cave we saw while we were approaching the camp. Franco, I presume? You approach a haggard-looking man wearing a threadbare cook's apron. I don't know what you heard, but there's no food here for you, or anyone, he growls. Complain to the Chamberlain if you want. Just leave me alone. Actually, Franco, the Chamberlain sent me to help you. The cook's eyes meet yours for the first time. Honestly, the situation is beyond dire. People are starving by the day, and we have no supplies. The old, the sick, the young, they'll all be dying off at this rate. Okay, so what do we do about it? Well, none of us have the strength or courage left to venture out of sight of the camp to hunt and forage. The cook looks you up and down. But you look capable enough. You could go beyond the walls and look for something more substantial. These people can't live on vegetable broth alone. They need meat and fat, especially if there's fighting to be had. And I'm guessing you've got a suggestion as to where to start? I do indeed. Franco leans in. Old Jacob owns this farm. It might not seem like much to a mainlander, but here on Idra, this farm here is large enough. You see, Jacob and his family had a large flock of goats when the calamity started. Right over there in the enclosure behind us. Sure. Now, the old man told the Chamberlain that the beasts bolted when the calamity started. That it drove them all insane and that they all scattered into the hills. Well, that might be rightly so, but I have my suspicions. You think he's hiding them? Look, I can't say I blame the man. Us refugees have made a mess of his farm, and if we find hands on those animals, we'll surely fall upon them like locusts. It would ruin him, and truly it would be a shame if the man lost his livelihood. But better that than having to see children starve. Now, you best get going. I see people have started eyeing the rats. Right, well, I will certainly talk to the man, see what he's heard. Actually, Franco is thoughtfully peeling onions as he hums a tune in some foreign language. Baron, good to see you. Likewise, you have a moment? The cook's eyes widen in hope. So, what news? Did you find anything I can put in folks' bellies? Not yet, but I did have some questions, if you don't mind. Oh yeah? Well, what's eating you? The cook chuckles darkly. Yeah, let's maybe not go there, because then I'm going to get suspicious, but I'm just gathering information on whatever happened at Haran. My story's similar to most folk around here. Sudden ruin. I had an inn, respectable place. Right on the main square it was. So even if I survive this place, seems like I have nothing to go back to. That is unfortunate. But you know, one day at a time, my friend. So look, if you were the innkeeper, you may have seen my friend. She came to the island ahead of me. Her name was Embla. She was a noble from the mainland. Franco listens to your description of Embla, then strokes his beard. I might have seen her, but this hunger is making me hazy. Help us find something to eat, and chances are it'll clear my memory too. Right, fair enough. I mean, I was going to do that anyway, but, this is just a bit of extra incentive, I suppose. I mean, obviously we can't really blame him. Desperate times and all. Much like Marcus, he is rightfully afeared that that if we get what we want, we'll just leave without helping. A small, ragged, stuffed animal. No doubt it should be returned to its owner with all due haste. Noted. And how do we get that? Perhaps through this little side building? Aha! Which nets us a couple of healing potions. Very nice. Alright, let's chat this guy up over here. I think we've got time for that. An old man looks you carefully up and down as if evaluating some farm animal. You find him somewhat unnerving. Decrepit as he appears, there is nonetheless some unnatural vitality upon him. Magic, no doubt. Hail, friend. What are you up to? Why, I'm examining you. There is something about you. A sheen of sorts. Something in your past, or perhaps your future? I cannot tell. So what, you're a wizard, or just crazy? That is indeed the question, the man answers obtusely. He squints and strokes his beard as if trying to remember some long-lost memory. You may call me Malachi. I am a purveyor of sorts. Say, you strike me as one who might be on the lookout for exotic wares. Sure, weird sales pitch, but yeah, let's have a look. Please, feast your eyes on my selection of wondrous items. Oh, wow. Okay. The Sparrowhawk. Magic medium blade with a hefty price tag. Which also adds +2 to initiative. Oh, okay, so the final price is actually 3,000, so that's slightly more reasonable. Ooh, those, however, those are very affordable. As are those. We will almost certainly end up taking both. The Second Chance. Magic light armor. The first time you take wound damage each combat, you automatically regain 30 to 40 vitality. Okay. I mean, I don't necessarily like to plan for failure, but that's a nice safety. The Far Striders. Soak 2 encumbrance 1 boots. Increases carrying capacity of the wearer by 30 pounds, as well as granting +1 to fortitude. Oh, that's just a straight stat increase. I mean, the 30 pounds of extra carry weight are no big deal, but boosting fortitude would boost associated skills and your entire health and toughness calculation. So that is deceptively useful, and at a much more reasonable price. The Tyrant. Soak 2 enchanted hat or helmet. Grants +1 awareness, which is essentially a wash, but more notably grants +1 spell aptitude. Yeah, so the awareness boost is basically just to cancel out the encumbrance penalty. The hat is really designed to increase spell power. Obviously a great fit for any caster. Though in our case, probably Freya? Since that's apt to be one of the very few pieces of armor she could actually wear. The Lunar Ring. Which just straight up grants +1 aura size. Yes, okay. Yeah, I mean, obviously that's very useful if you're loaded up with aura spells. Which would make it a decent fit for Dima if we go that route. Though it is also a very pricey purchase. Interesting. Actually, you know what? I'll bet he's a meta character. I think Skald was crowdfunded, so those items he's selling are most likely items designed by high-tier backers. I can appreciate that. Honestly, feels like a pretty decent way to do it. They're obviously useful items, but if you want them, you have to pay a fairly hefty price, too. I'm always a little torn when it comes to that sort of thing in games I'm doing series on. You know, if I backed a project or bought a collector's edition or something, the free items can end up shifting the balance. But if you have to earn them in-game, then it feels, you know, a lot more justifiable. That said, we have definitely run long, so this feels like a good place to call it. We'll hit the pause button for now. I'll take care of the usual off-screen bookkeeping, and we will pick up here next time. See you then. Oh, and special thanks to the Raiders, the fine folks who help make these videos possible, including but not limited to Eerie V23, Revenant, Alois, Dragon Matrix 7, Drakiith, EgonAlter, Exsellsior, Gottlieb, James Trimmier, Kazorm, Mark Giemza, Nathan Welch Jr., OverlordPherom, RandomPassrby, RobbyB, Tomasz Piątkowski, Triphoppenskip, and Valinrook. Thanks for your support, guys. That said, if you'd also like to help support the channel, then feel free to push the buttons that do the things. Trust me, it does make a difference. Or you could even check out the PayPal, the Patreon, the Nexus GG, or the YouTube memberships. Links are in the description.